Hello, Goldma viewers. Welcome back to our program. As usual, we produce content on a daily basis. And today we're going to be discussing the best cryptocurrency to invest in. On our panel today, for those of you that are tuning in for the first time, we have to my extreme right, Mr. Ruben, part of our communications team, and Mr. Eddie is also part of our communications team. And then we have our CEO on my left, Mr. Jenkins. Oh, my bad. And that's our CEO. And lastly, my name is Nyarai. I'm also part of the communications team. There are so many ICOs out there, you know, a lot of cryptocurrencies that are being offered at the moment. And right now what people need are the tools and the information to be able to discern, to sort of sieve through until you get quality projects to invest in. And what do you guys think people should look at when thinking of the best cryptocurrency to invest in? Like just a general
Again, as I always say, I'm a metrics guy, you know, and when you begin to analyze the landscape of cryptocurrencies and ICOs, because I look at this, I prefer to invest in cryptocurrencies that are already on the market. Okay. Or an ICO that is close to coming to the market. Now, if you have a bigger risk appetite, you can try to go right when the ICO starts, and you get a better reward typically because you will get a discount. But the metric that I look for the most is the team and what the team experience is. You know, how does their experience translate to the project that they're attempting to do? That's number one. Number two, I look at what is their marketing impact. So if I look at Twitter and I look at their LinkedIn pages and I looked at their Facebook and I look at Instagram and I look at these different social platforms, are people engaging? Are they promoting what they're doing really well? Are they communicating really well? But probably right next to the team capability, I'm looking, do they have a working product? Yeah. Is that product working? Can I see it? Can I test it? And if it is working and it does have a good team, is it something that I believe will have market adoption? And then do they have a plan to evolve? Now, that's typical. But what's not typical is there are security tokens in place right now that I think I would look at and say, you know what, there's an asset that's backing up this cryptocurrency. And I think there's a less amount of risk associated with assets. So just to start out without naming right now, I'm going to name later, but without naming any right now, I'm looking at those type of things, and there are a few others. I don't want to take them all up. I'm sure these guys will address those issues.
Yeah, thank you for that contribution. I like what you said about something that has massive potential to be adopted, because that's a very important aspect of that determines whether a project will be successful or not. I can see a lot of thoughts just through your eyes. What do you guys think? What do you look at when you want to invest in a...
All right. So I'm picturing someone who's searching online for a cryptocurrency to invest in. And what comes up first is the obvious Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. That's what you're going to get because those are the most popular and most of them have the largest market cap. And so it's going to be very attractive. But what I would like someone to really look into is... well, like what Mr. J said, something that has backing, something that has a functioning product, you know, something that if you can envision and look at it and say, you know what, if it works like this, it can actually really work like this and that. I'm not against ideas, because ideas are what brought us to where we are as mankind, you know. But if you're going to ask me a question to say, what is the best cryptocurrency I can invest in, I'll say, firstly, go safe. You know, invest in something that is easy for you to understand. Firstly, yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, easy for you to understand. You can quantify the white paper. White paper really has to be clear. You should be able to read through it, and if there are any jargons, you can just look them up. But it has to be really transparent. Don't go for those cryptocurrencies that offer the world to you. 100 and something % gain, whatnot, you know. Come back to earth and you know, invest in something that you know really, okay, these guys still need to make a profit. If you ask yourself that kind of a question, if they're going to give me this much, what are they going to get out of it? Are they going to survive? Look at that. You know how it is when you're applying for a loan in a bank. You know, they look at are you in debt? Do you have mortgages? What will be the burden on you? And if the burden is a bit much, you're not going to get that loan. That's the same thing when you're investing in an ICO. Look at that. Say, you know what? If this guy's going to be giving us so much, they're promising that they're probably not real, and it's probably not planned well. You know. So I would say, if you're going to invest in a cryptocurrency, go for something, you know, the price that's under $1, because if it's a good idea, it's going to go up if it hits the stock market. So
you're saying start by testing the waters first? Yes,
test the waters first. You know, invest, even if it's money, invest something that you're willing to lose. I know you're not willing to lose any money, but if it so happens that, you know, something happens, go that way. But yeah, that's what I think.
Interesting perspective. Thank you for that.
All right.
Yes, sir.
For me, it's really quite simple. The first and foremost thing for me personally is, are they solving an interesting problem? I think technology and crowdfunding and all of this stuff, at the very root of it, has to be solving interesting problems.
Yeah.
So perhaps I'm a little bit loopy, so I don't, you know, I'm glad you guys mentioned all the hard, you know, metrics and numerical like analysis stuff. That's great, but that has to be business and everything. The whole reason why we think of new things is solving problems that we have. So that's my biggest thing. Is like, are you solving an interesting problem?
And that's a very, very important one, because I think that determines the need for your product, you know, to the market. Like, does the market, in order for you to identify your market, you need to identify a need, right?
Right.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, if you're not trying to meet any need, then it's going to be very difficult for your product to be adopted. Yeah,
who want that? Who's paying attention to that?
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult to do that.
I think about a lot of things that are in the marketplace that I think are needed.
Yeah.
Or I think it's a good idea. Let's put it that way. Maybe not needed, but it's a good idea to have this. But people are not interested in it. And most of all, it doesn't solve a problem.
Yeah.
You may need it, but it really don't solve a pressing problem. You know.
Yeah.
I think people need floss. But but I don't believe in solving a problem if you got an ICO coming up with some floss on the blockchain right now. I just, you know. But anyway, I digress.
Okay, looking at the ICO team, right? When you're considering investing in a cryptocurrency, what exactly are the qualities that you look for in an ICO team that you would feel free to trust with your investment?
Yeah, look at what happened with Ripple and Stellar. These were guys that were working together previously. You know, these guys came from already creating another type of cryptocurrency, and you know, if you look at Ethereum and what they spawned off, the people that spawn off to do different things. If you look at Polymath and what they are doing and spawning off, you'll see that there's certain CIOs or certain developers in one ICO. So you can kind of go back and look at what they've done previously and how it relates to what they're doing now and give you a bit of insight. Also, look at what that guy's experience is. I'm not knocking young folks, but if a guy comes out and he's 16 years old and he got the greatest idea in the world and it's just him by himself, you know, he need a little help. You know, even Mark Z needed a little help. You know, even Bill Gates needed a little help.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, look at not only their qualifications, look at the team around them, who's helping them, and also look at that person's experience with respect to what they are developing. It's only one Facebook. There's only one Microsoft. That's like a needle in a haystack. Don't bet on those kind of needle in a haystack type of, and I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not giving you financial advice. Please consult your professional advisor. Do not take what we're saying as professional advice, okay? I just want to get that out the way.
Guys, any thoughts on the team? Anything to add?
Yeah, you can't have a one-man band. I agree with this, man. You can't play the drums, the guitar, everything at the same time. You need... It would have worked maybe early 2017 when, you know, ICOs were like, you just launch an ICO, you get an investment, because people didn't understand. Not in 2018 where people are now, their eyes are open, and people have been scammed. And I'm not going to trust one guy who was in their garage and they have no team around them. No one advised them on the market, because you can't know everything by yourself. You need someone to give you legal advice. You need someone to give you all sorts of advice. So yes, team is very important. You need on your board of advisors, you need the best, you know. So when you crossing out, look at the advisors also. Look at what they've been through, what projects they've done, what are the successes and all. So
I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that completely. And I also think that there's one thing that people should look at, like even more than just the team, and that's feasibility.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
Can they implement? Does this really work? You know, you don't want to pull a Donald Trump and be like, we're going to build a wall, you know, and then we're going to make Mexico pay for it.
You had to.
I'm like, yay! But then I'm not really thinking, how are you going to make Mexico pay for that wall? You understand?
No white paper there, was it?
Yeah. No white paper.
There was just no white paper. You know?
So I remember you had an article and you're saying ask questions.
Yes.
And that's part of assessing the feasibility of the project. You know, you have to ask how. That's the first part. Yeah. How are you going to make money for me?
Yeah.
Because I've seen a lot of ICOs and they tell you, we're going to be paying you out this much. Yeah, but then how? You know? Yeah. Because I don't want to invest in a short-term project. I want a long-term thing, you know? Yeah. Something that will give me a regular income in the long term, in the long run. So I guess that's why people are much more secure in investing in pre-existing products. Yeah,
definitely. Especially, I'm sure when I listen to him talking about the ICOs that he would be interested in, he echoed what I was talking about. A current MVP, a current working product that is making something. Maybe they need a little bit more to get them to break even, to get them to making a bit of money. And most of these cryptocurrencies are not making people money. They do not have it in their business model to make you money. Yeah. It's in their business model to make themselves money. That's typically what I'm seeing on the marketplace. I don't read one and say, here's how we're going to make you money. Listen up. I don't really see that too often. Is there one that I'm missing out on? I mean, I don't want to talk about right here, but I'm talking about everyone else.
I haven't come across anything that communicates like in that direct fashion where there's, okay, here's how investors are going to benefit, token holders are going to benefit. Because a lot of people sort of masquerade, right? Like, they try to hide behind that it's a security token, but they don't want to call it a security token. They're sort of hiding behind and not wanting to go through the regulatory hoops that are necessary to do that. So then they just call it a utility token, and then the utility of that is spurious at best. So it doesn't happen.
Yeah. And I think that the problem with that is it's reducing the ICO universe to just gambling, basically. You know, like you just put your coin in the slot, pull the lever, and just cross your fingers and just hope you win. You know, which is not really how investors should feel. Investors should be confident that, you know what, there's a really high chance that I will make money out of this based on these metrics. Like you were saying, you like measurable metrics.
Yeah, you want to be able to see in the white paper, does this person have a plan, a set number by which they will calculate what you get? And that's something that's interesting to me. I was just looking on Bitcoin Talk, and I saw that there was a company that basically is talking about that they are a security token, and it's an oil company, and they're saying, hey, we're going to tokenize the oil. I thought that was very interesting. Now, I didn't read too much into it because they just got started. However, that's an example to me of someone who's saying, I have a commodity. I'm going to offer you access to this commodity, and here is the schedule and the formula by which we're going to make you money by some type of profit sharing business model. That to me is always interesting because people don't easily get access to these type of commodities: oil, gold, real estate. People typically don't have these type of licenses without going through a lot of hoops and hurdles that they must overcome. So when they are able to overcome this and then they're able to bring it to the investment market, it's interesting to me. I think it's something that you should definitely do your due diligence and look into. And those are the best types for me that are dictating to me that they have a formula of profit sharing with respect to their success.
What about token allocation? When you're going through the white paper and you want to know how they intend to allocate these tokens, would that be a red flag if you see maybe as part of the allocation for tokens, you realize that they've allocated maybe 35% of it to the airdrop? Like, wouldn't you be worried? Like, what? You know?
Yeah. I've seen it. There was this ICO recently. I was looking at it on Bitcoin Talk again, and this ICO only offered about 20% of its tokens to be sold. And I was like, really? How you gonna win like that? If over 60% of your tokens are going to the owners and the founders, people are really not gonna feel very motivated to be involved with that. I think that you definitely need to consult your advisors, find out what is the best token matrix that you can set up for your tokens. Very important. Do a bit of studying, do your due diligence as an ICO, but as a person that's investing. If I'm looking into it, I'm definitely going to look. Me personally, I look for at least half the tokens are available for the community, half or more.
Yeah.
The more tokens that's available for the community, the better, in my opinion, within reason. Because of course, your founders and your early investors, your advisors and your team members, they're going to need that. They're going to want that if you're going to keep good quality people on your team.
I also want to come back to scrutinizing the idea, or maybe the business model already has a product in place, right? Yeah. And then they decide to hold an ICO. How important is it to see the compatibility of the business itself and blockchain technology? Like, does it really need the implementation of an ICO and blockchain technology? Because there are some bizarre ideas, like I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna create a hair braiding robot, and then I'm gonna put it on the blockchain, and You know, it needs to, the two need to marry. They need to work together. Yeah. And I don't mean to sound like an infomercial as well. Okay. But if you see the way Goldma, you know, developed their business model, you'll definitely understand the need for why they took the ICO route. Like, why didn't they just go to an investor? You know, why didn't they offer their shares on the stock market? And that's very important. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
I think I'll go back to what Ruben said. It has to be a solution to a problem, one. So I also don't want to sound like an infomercial, but with Goldma, the problem is you can't move around with bullion bars. You can't move around with them. We're digitizing the gold asset, you know? And the other problem is investors that usually invest in gold are big-time investors who have big money. But now it's opening it up to the market where you cannot invest under $1, like 30 cents. You know? So you actually understand, okay, this is why they did it. Oh, so the solution is I can't really go and, you know, invest with Ernst & Young because I won't even qualify. So, so you're right. Yeah. I agree absolutely. It has to make absolute sense. If it doesn't make sense to you, don't do it.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. Although I don't want to limit people's creativity. You know, so there might be a blockchain solution for that hair braiding. I don't know. Never know, but practically, it seems to be in line with what you guys were saying, that we need to get some idea why blockchain is a solution. Because there's a lot of, like, any new technology that comes sort of inspires, let's do everything on this new technology. It's sort of like the internet, right? Like in the late 90s, you had a .com boom because, hey, everything needs a website. Everything needs to be on the internet. Well, a lot of things, maybe not everything. You know, so blockchain has, you know, there are proven cases where it's practical, where it's useful. And so, at least if you're investing, again, depending on your risk your tolerance of risk, you know, you sort of pick, you know, if you're loopy, if you're really out on the edge, hey, invest in that robot idea. You never know where it'll get you.
There's another point that I've seen in this article here that talks about the 10 good signs of a good ICO. And they say that you also have to look at the likelihood of that currency ending up on the exchange. Yeah. You know, because ultimately, it would be good if you're able to trade your digital assets. Yeah. Like, that's more money that comes out of that. Yeah. How do you assess that?
There's someone I know right now. Y'all know who I'm going to talk about, okay? I'm going to name him right now. I won't name him. But they say they made a lot of money. They say they did. And ICO is over with. And they said they were going to come out at this one date. And then they said it's going to come out on another date. Failed on both of them. There's no sign of their product. Can't see, you know, their product anywhere. No picture of it. And they keep saying it's coming, but it doesn't show up. To me, that's a telltale sign that that's a problem. That's a problem right there. But most of the time, if you have someone that's experienced and they have advisors that's going to advise you early, like Goldma already has a plan to be on the Waves decks in 30 days or less. Secondly, and I won't announce it, but we are in talks with a second and third exchange. Yeah. So these are the type of things that we don't necessarily talk about right now, but people who are listening to our broadcast, they'll know, oh, these guys are thinking about these steps. And it is very important. Like very important. It's so important because how are you going to determine the value in the marketplace of your particular cryptocurrency if it's not on the exchange? What you gonna do with it? Yeah. What you gonna do? Unless, you know, you're playing some video games or you use it as a utility, play some video games, something like that. That might help. you know what I mean? But you won't get necessarily some type of monetary value out of it. It'll be merely a utility token. Now, I'm going to tell you how I was told a long time ago. My pops told me this. Son, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense.
That's a powerful
And that's where I'm at right now with that.
Okay, it seems like we're running out of time. I just want to give an opportunity to each and every one of us to give their final thoughts. One other thing that I want to mention is that you also have to look at whether they are people that communicate, that let you know what's happening. You need to be updated. We're in the pre-ICO phase. We're now in the public sale. This is what you need to do. If you go to their Telegram group, do they respond? I think it's very important. You know, investors need to be updated constantly. You need to know what's happening with your money. Because I feel like if you don't tell your investors what's going on, even if you are making money for them, there's always a lack of trust. You're not building a rapport with them because they don't know what you're thinking. It's kind of like when you have, okay, I just thought of this. When you have a relative that's in theater going through surgery, right? And then the doctor is constantly coming out, just looks at you and he's like, and he goes in and he tells you nothing. Doctor, what's happening? Ma'am, step back. Oh. You know, let us do our job. Right. Can you imagine how long, even if the procedure is for 5 minutes, can you imagine how long those 5 minutes will be? True. Until finally they come out and they take off their mask and all sorts of scrubs and then they go, she made it, you know. You'll still be unsettled. Yeah. You know, rather just tell me right now she's stable, everything is going well, just remain calm. We'll come back and we'll let you know. Yeah. Okay, right now we've finished this procedure. We're just going to let her rest for a while until she becomes conscious. That's exactly the same thing with business. You know, right now we're thinking of upscaling our production. We've recently purchased a bigger ball mill that's able to process 200 tons worth of stockpile, right? Things like that. Right now we're working on building a carbon and pulp plant. That's the kind of stuff that people need to know because that's what makes the money. You know, rather than to just say, here's your royalty, you made money. Right. Yeah, but then how do I know it's not a Ponzi scheme? Yeah, true. How do I know you didn't take that money elsewhere just to convince me that you're making money? True. You know what I'm saying? True. Okay, final thoughts? I'll give you guys a chance.
All right, I'll go first. Step back, relax, look into it. Is it real? Communicate with the teams. If they're not communicating back, it's probably not real. Look into the white paper, do your due diligence, just let it make sense to you. If it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, don't invest in it. That's my final thought. Yeah, no,
just as I said, go back to the original problem. Like, this company exists for what purpose? Right? And that's what it comes down to for me. Look at it, understand the problem, imagine it, walk through it and sort of say, oh, yeah, that is an interesting solution to this particular problem. And this is likely to be beneficial. And, you know, then obviously invest, actually put your money into it.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that contribution. We have reached our least favorite part of this discussion, which is when we have to go and we hate to leave you. Before we go, we're each going to name at least one cryptocurrency or ICO that's good to invest in right now. You know, and by the way, there are a lot of reasons to consider investing in an ICO. Sometimes it's because of what it stands for, that cryptocurrency, the difference that it can make. So that also counts. That also determines whether it's a good investment or not. I'll start with you, Mr. J. What's the best one for you right now?
The best one? There are a few. You know, and first let me just say that I like to have a portfolio so that I have a balanced approach to my investment plan. You know, there is a number of ones that I have low risk, medium risk, high risk. So when I look at that, I look at tokens that mirror somewhat what we're doing, like Digix Gold. If you look at Digix Gold, they are asset based. Their price is somewhat stable, and they have been on different exchanges. They're available at different exchanges, so the liquidity issue is not there. So I like that in terms of my medium risk type of ICO. Now, when I look at other asset-based type of cryptocurrencies, I also look at the other token that Digix offers. If you look at all three of those tokens, you know, they have DAO and I forget the other one that they have, but I really like what they're doing in the marketplace. You know, I like Anthem. That's a pretty good. It's also gold based, as you probably can tell. I like the gold. And there's some other ones that I think that have a good utility that's already in the marketplace, and I think they're going to hold up really well. Look at Ethereum Classic. Ethereum Classic is soon to be on Coinbase. Those guys are one of the largest exchanges or the largest wallets out there. And so when a token goes to that exchange, you know, more likely than not, it's going to be successful. And once it's on that exchange, so right now, I would go after Ethereum Classic because I know it's going to go to Coinbase soon. I would do that. The other one that I'm looking at, just on the fact that they have a lot of potential and they have a lot of money, is EOS. They can mess up a bit and still be able to pull out a good solution. And I think that's something that people will look at for a long-term bet that they're going to do well. And I'm not going to even say why right now. In terms of ICOs, of course, I want to talk about Goldma, but I'm not going to go into it too much. I'll let the other guys talk about it a bit more than me. But that's probably my number one pick of all of these. Because, again, the business model with respect to gold, that's my pick.
All right. My pick is the Venezuelan petro.
Okay.
This idea, I don't know if many people actually knew, was conceived by Hugo Chavez. And he was a big advocate of socialism. And you mentioned that the business idea should meet a need. And right now, Venezuela's economy is choked by U.S. sanctions. So they're trying to introduce a currency that's much more valuable than the Venezuelan Bolivar Fuerte VEF.
Okay.
Let me just say it like that.
That one.
And they're trying to overcome those sanctions by introducing a valuable currency. And this is what they're going to do. First of all, it's pre-mined, which means the government will produce and control it. And then also they're going to back it with a cost of a barrel of Venezuelan oil.
Okay.
So that means that currency is not at zero as we speak. It's worth something.
They're one of the largest deposits, huh?
Yeah. So what it means is what I value the most. Being from a country that has also suffered economically because of U.S. sanctions, even though they are said to be targeted. You know, I think that Zimbabwe needs to zoom in and look at Venezuela right now as a country that's rich in resources. Because if they can rise above it, then like cream, we can do the same. Okay, that was cheesy, but anyway, that's the one. That's the one I pick.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, I picked EOS. The reason why I picked EOS is it's a symbol of growth. Because if you can check with transaction speeds and things like that, with Bitcoin, you just had Bitcoin, right? After Bitcoin came Ethereum, you can now put smart contracts on top of that. You can do this, you can do that. But the argument people would always have is like, but you know, with Bitcoin, you have 7 transactions per second. You do this, you do that. But I mean, from that to how many is it? Close to 1 million transactions per second with EOS.
I think it's over 24,000.
It's over 24,000, right? Yeah. So it's
over, getting fast.
Visa is 24,000, so it's over Visa.
Yeah.
That's so for me. It's a cryptocurrency that's always stepping up the game. That's always it. They raised $4 billion, and recently the price has gone down. But it happens. But one thing I know with that kind of innovation, they will come up, they will stabilize, and they will bring something new to the game. So I'll pick EOS and the GMA token.
Come on, man.
And by the way, before we move over to Mr. Ruben, now that he's saying that EOS has actually dropped the price, when the price drops, that's actual time to buy for those that invest, because if it's still a good idea, that means the price is going to go back up, which is why people still have faith in Bitcoin. Mr.
For me, Bitcoin.
Okay.
Look, there's no one controlling it. I know that, last 24 hours, it's like down 7.5%, 7.6%. And I think that's because, people are unhappy that the decision of the ETFs that didn't come at the time that that they were expecting it. But it's still the most dominant in the entire sort of cryptocurrency market. And for a lot of, not retail, but big institutions, when they think cryptocurrency, they think Bitcoin. Because of that market share. So when the ETF decision is made, hopefully in a favorable way, you're going to see a lot more institutional money coming into Bitcoin, and I think the price is going to go way up. So if you're patient and if you're willing to ride through some uncomfortable price swings, I think you're going to come out on top with Bitcoin, because once that institutional money comes in, you're gonna rake it in.
You got a good point. I must say, that's a very good point. The point what you said about there's no human interaction, not involved. Like, people look for that. They look for certainty, and that's something we really can't overlook. That, hey, they really feel as though when humans are involved, you can be certain there's going to be problems. You can be certain. Yeah. But if you have a program that just works the way it's supposed to work, like the algorithm of Bitcoin, yes, that to me is definitely something that you want to invest in. I just believe that there soon will be another platform that has some type of value, or some asset that's part of it, and is going to be where no humans are involved. And I think that's probably going to be the biggest means. But I think each ICO, each cryptocurrency will have a role, just like you have the New York Stock Exchange. And it's not like there's just one, stock that's just running the whole game. There's some that are doing really well. There's some that are doing maybe a little bit below that, but they are making money for the investors, and that's the big part. Can you make money for your investors? Are you scalable to do that? So I like Bitcoin too.
Okay, thank you. Well, that concludes our discussion. It's been pleasant. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your contribution. Remember, like what Mr. J said on earlier, that this is not a program where we're trying to issue financial advice. We're still just trying to provoke critical thinking and for people to be able to evaluate. So please don't make any investments based on what's said in this show, but take it as an initiative for you to ask the hard questions that you need to when you're investing in order for you to protect your money. And then finally, if you liked this video, if it was helpful in any way, please click the thumbs up button. Remember to subscribe. We do put out content on a daily basis. Drop us a comment. Let us know what you think about what we've discussed today. If you liked Mr. Eddie's tie or shirt, let us know as well. We are quick to respond. Until next time, bye-bye.